Hello, my friends, and welcome to Realm News' first ever bonus episode. I am your host, the Dark Lord, the one who puts the real in Realm and expands your mind one block at a time. I created this episode to be an addition to episode 53, which is titled The Nitwit. And as you are all aware, this bonus episode can only be heard if you are a Gold Ingot member. So congrats to all for being a member. Well, if you recall, I mentioned in episode 53 about the painting The Idiot by the Pond, made in 1926 by Fritz van den Berghe. Today, I am going to be exploring that painting and the painter behind it. I am going to attempt to draw some similarities between the Nitwit and the character in this painting and tell you my sentiments on it. Shall we begin the show, my friends? I would like to start the show with some background to the artist who made the painting The Idiot by the Pond, Fritz van den Berghe. And yes, it's broken down into 4 different words, essentially. Fritz van den Berghe. It's not Fritz Vandenberg, like Vandenberg as in one. Okay, I just want to clarify that just in case. But it's Fritz van den Berghe. And I found a great site that has a brief biography of the artist at oscardevos.be. Fritz van den Berghe was born in Ghent, Belgium on April 3rd, 1883 and died on September 23rd, 1939. He died at 56 years old. His father, Raphael, was the secretary at Ghent University's library. His father being involved with the university surely impacted young Fritz and more than likely led to his education there. Because in 1898, at the age of 15 years old, Fritz had began his lessons at the Academy of Fine Arts at Ghent University. This article does not describe much about his time at the academy during this age. However, it goes on to describe that van den Berghe became a professor at Ghent University for a little while before moving to the United States with a girlfriend for a few months before returning back to Belgium shortly before World War I broke out in 1916. When World War I had commenced, van den Berghe had decided to flee his country, Belgium, with a couple friends and head to Amsterdam. There, he continued his artwork and would stay there until 1922 when he moved back to Belgium. Eventually, Ghent University offered him the directorship position to van den Berghe in 1939, but unfortunately, he passed away very suddenly and was not able to assume that prestigious position. That is his life in a very brief glance. I would like to now peer over at another article written about him, which is found at vlamsekunstencollectie.be. This article breaks down his art style and how it had evolved through his life. The article goes on to point out a painting called The Sower that was produced in 1919, like to sow some land, as in throwing seed in the earth and crops and whatnot. Plowing, the sower. Allow me to interject real quick and shift gears by saying that the year 1919 appears to be a pivotal year for the young artist because we see a shift in his art, or his style of it. He finds his true voice through a form of art that is called cubism. An extremely brief definition of cubism, according to Britannica.com, is, quote, the Cubist style emphasized the flat two-dimensional surface of the picture plane, rejecting the traditional techniques of perspectives for shortening, modeling, and chiaroscuro, and refuting time-honored theories that art should imitate nature. Cubist painters were not bound to copying form, texture, colors, and space. Instead, they presented a new reality in paintings that depicted radically fragmented objects, end quote. And sorry that I butchered that word. Let me try that again. It's, I think, chiaroscuro. Sorry about all that. A couple of famous painters who create cubism, some examples of them, or pretty much the founders, I should say, are Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque. I am sure that you have heard of one of those two people. If not, please Google and look at their artwork. You can see the similarities between Van den Berghe's paintings during the early 1920s compared to Picasso's. Or at least I can see the similarities between the two. Let me know what you think by DMing me. I would love to hear your opinions. You can also see how his art evolves as he ages and progresses with the art. An example of this progression or evolution is another famous painting that is seen at vlamaskunstkollektie.be, which the painting is titled The Eternal Wanderer, Vagabond, painted in 1925, where it shows a man in a suit who is, I'm assuming, is the vagabond or wanderer, looking down upon a strange landscape. There's a boat with several fish in it and a torso of a woman's body, which is rather bizarre. I mean, it is. But this is an odd painting. It gives me post-apocalyptic vibes, almost a Fallout video game feel. It's very odd. The whole painting is very sombre. There is a lot of shadowing and shading going on. The colors give it a very dark look. It feels oppressive and actually is quite terrifying to look at. In the background is a cafe with an outdoor patio next to a river where that boat is situated or docked. On the horizon, a train passes by over a bridge that bridge is over that river. The images are rather obscure at first glance, and it takes a moment to understand what is entirely inside of this image and is occurring in it. I appreciate art that forces the observer to examine it like this one. You can see that his artwork has evolved much since the painting The Sower, which was produced in 1919. The Sower had much less form in its imagery. I mean, the figures or objects in that were not as refined as they are in this 1925 painting that I'm describing, where you can clearly see that this is a person standing next to the boat, and all the other images in that painting are clearly defined. Now, the Eternal Wonder Vagabond has more shape, and you can see that his artwork is starting to become more surreal than it is cubist, which was the direction his art style was headed. As the 1920s was wrapping up and the 30s approaching, Van den Berghe's art was evolving rapidly. Van den Berghe's art was becoming more influenced by his questioning of reality, dreaming, and his own subconscious. By 1929, he was fully submersed in surrealism, and it showed in his artwork. Now that we have a small summation on artist Fritz van den Berghe and a small understanding of how his art has evolved throughout the 1920s, I would like to now move on to the art piece that I found intriguing and led me to create this episode for you all today. That would be the painting called The Idiot by the Pond, circa 1926, and it was used or created with oil paint and put on canvas. This is found at mskgent.be, Museum of Fine Arts. This painting is of a man who is considered to be the quote-unquote village idiot. The man has tan skin as if he works outside all day, big feet, and large hands. He is wearing brown capri pants that go down to the calves, along with a white long-sleeve shirt and a green vest. The person is standing center in the painting, in water, staring with sleepy-looking eyes directly at you. Our character is not alone in the painting. There are several ducks, or I should say geese, two to his left, one behind him, and to the right, and another behind the red brick structure, which I imagine being a farmhouse. There's also a caravan in the picture, or the painting there, and the aforementioned brick house directly behind him. The colors are all earthy tones and hues, like I noticed in all of his paintings. The Idiot by the Pond has a lot of green and white colors with red standing out and some yellowish gold hues that form part of the painting that are the most striking. You could tell that this is one of his later year paintings because of how refined it looks in comparison to the 1919 The Sower. This article from mskgent.be goes on to say, quote, "The composition has been built up statically with bright areas of color adjoining each other. This is one of Vandenberg's maturest expressionist works from the middle of the 1920s. The painter has not turned the village idiot into a caricature here. The portrait of the idiot with his fat body and empty gaze rather expresses the artist's own melancholy and his sympathy for the clumsiness and feeble-mindedness of humanity." End quote. I personally enjoyed reading about how he didn't mock this quote-unquote village idiot by turning him into that caricature, as it is nicely pointed out in that quote. But rather, I feel that he has showed sympathy and portrayed a sense of sadness to the character, a sadness for being different from the others, perhaps of the village. I personally feel that the quote-unquote village idiot is the artist's subconscious and the pity he has on those that are less fortunate. That is the impression that I received from this piece of art. Just my opinions and feelings. That's why I love art. There's no right or wrong to it. Now, I really enjoyed this painting, and you can go look at it in the newsletter that I provided a couple days ago if you haven't already. It was the wardrobe and the fact that the painting is called The Idiot by the Pond that made me include this in the Nitwit episode 53 and correlate it to that NPC found in the game of Minecraft. Their attire to me looks strikingly similar to the Nitwit in Minecraft. Also, the idiot's gaze is quite sombre to look at. He means no harm and looks like a gentle soul. It makes me feel sorry for the character in this painting, almost like society has been hard on him, and that is why I was captivated by it. It made me feel bad for the nitwit in the overworld, and I think I have personally treated my nitwits horribly by deleting them whenever I see them, but I believe that will change, in part thanks to this painting by Fritz Vandenberg. I hope that you all enjoyed learning about that artist and his paint style. I would like to now move on to another article I found at GameRant.com that had shed new light on the nitwit. It was just a fun article to read, and I learned a couple things from it that I would like to pass on to you. The article titled 5 Interesting Facts About Nitwits in Minecraft, written by Jacob Burkett, March 18th, 2024 of this year. There are some facts about nitwits I had no idea about in that. It was extremely fascinating to read, and I will provide the works guide for all of this in the newsletter that will accompany the episode so you can go check it out. But did you know that being a nitwit, in the eyes of Mojang and in the coding, that the nitwit is technically a profession? Ha! Yeah, I didn't. Yes, while there's no visible occupational or job block for the nitwit like other villagers, it is still considered to be a profession. This allows them to walk anywhere and still be a nitwit. They do not need to pathfind to a job block. And because they are technically employed as a nitwit, they will not take another job block when it's set down. That is what separates them from a quote-unquote unemployed villager. Unemployed villagers will take a job when a job block is placed down near them. They're just looking for a job. They're literally unemployed. The nitwit, that is their job. This will not happen with a nitwit because they're already occupied. They won't take one if you place it down. That's why they don't take job blocks or occupation blocks. Now, talk about one heck of a profession. How do you get that, right? Now, as mentioned in the Nitwit episode, 1 of every 10 kids on Bedrock Edition will become a nitwit. But what about nitwit children? Do they exist? Are you born as a nitwit, or is this a thing you learn and become as you grow up? Well, I have the answer. In Minecraft, you are born a nitwit. Yes, there is proof. It is extremely rare to witness, and that may be why you have never seen a baby nitwit. The only way that you will see a baby nitwit is if it is a zombie baby nitwit. All occupations that villagers carry have a chance of spawning as a zombie, meaning that you have a chance to see a Fletcher zombie, a Butcher zombie, a Mason zombie, a Nitwit zombie, and etc. This also applies to zombie babies. It is extremely rare, as in unicorns eating four-leaf clovers rare, but there is a chance that a combo between baby zombie and nitwit will occur and form a baby nitwit zombie. This happens even on Minecraft Vanilla. Isn't that cool? If you have seen this and had the opportunity to snap a photo of one, please send in a copy to Realm News. Please. I will post it on Realm News, all my socials for you, and I'll give you credit, trust me, and we'll celebrate it. With that said, my friends, that's all I have for today. I will leave it on the baby nitwit zombie note right there. I hope you all enjoyed that bonus episode. I wanted to make this almost just to learn more about that painting. That's why I made this episode. I just really want to learn more about that painting and the artist behind it, the person that made The Idiot by the Pond. It really did make me reflect on how I treat my digital citizens in my Minecraft realm, which I love art that makes me reflect. I shall reform my laws and allow them to be part of the Entre Dieu society in peace now. I will. Because of that. I'm going to change it. All nitwits will now live in peace within the Entre Dieu kingdom. I hope that you all enjoyed learning about that painter, Fritz Vandenberg, and his work. I thought it was fascinating, and you can find that painting in the newsletter and more accompanying the soon-to-be newsletter to this episode that I just dropped. I wish you all a great rest of your day and week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Realm News, whether that be here as a member, Realm News, or Realm News Flash. Happy crafting. The Dark Lord signing out.